Good evening and welcome to the Whisky Lover Society with me, Gert Retief. Tonight we are looking at a Highland Park Viking Heart. Well, you've seen it from the thumbnail. I was quite excited. I sent a picture to my wife of the thumbnail. She thought it was hilarious. A little fat old body on a nice chiseled body. Well, sometimes you do need to have a little bit of fun. Now, I'm quite excited about this one. It is a single malt Highland Park Viking Heart, 15 years old. So a whiskey that does come from a proud heritage. And it is the ceramic bottle. It is a sample. It is bottled at 44% ABV. There's probably some chill filtration. Not sure about the color. The presumption, well, I'm not going to presume anything. As you know, I don't really like to go dig too much and to find out too much detail, because sometimes the eye catches a little bit of a nosing note and a tasting note. And for me, it is about sharing my experience and not somebody else's experience. And I've seen it in numerous whiskies where I've tried that what I get on the nose and what I get on the taste, nothing comes close to the things that they talk about on the bottle. You know, they take out the fiddle and they start playing all these lovely tunes, and when you get to nose and taste it, it's definitely something different. So that's for me, is that I like to give my opinion on it and give my nosing and tasting notes. Sometimes it's not the same as what's on the bottle or somebody else's review. For me, I don't really care about that. And just before I start off, just a quick reminder, I do have a Patreon account. Don't worry, the money is not for me. I sponsor 75 children in South Africa that's going through a little bit of a difficult time. So all proceeds on my Patreon account go to them. All that clicks and subscriber, that ad revenue that I get from YouTube, not much, maybe 100 euros in 6 months. It's definitely not a money-making thing for me, but at least I can take that money and I can go buy food for some needy children. So please feel free, like and subscribe, share. The more people that's part of this YouTube community, the more money we can bring in. I also have a PayPal account. If you're interested, just drop me a couple of words in the description and I will send you my PayPal account details as well. So on to tonight's whiskey. I did pour it a while. Now, full disclosure, I did sit back. I did try it for a while. I did try to find something positive about it. I did try to find out the nice notes that can come out of it. And the first experience that I had with this one, give it a little bit of time in the glass. So I did pour it about 15 minutes ago. There is a light golden color to it, 15 years old, 46% ABV. So on the nose, cheers. Now, that is the first thing that I did pick up on this one. It is one of the whiskies that does not do well on the nose for me. The first thing that I did pick up, especially on the first pour, immediately out of the bottle, you get a little bit of an ashy note, a little bit of a cigarette ashy note that comes out. A little bit of that smokiness that come out, but it is not like a peat smoke, like the TC peat smoke. This is just pure ash that comes out. And I was not a big fan of that. And in fact, the first couple of sentences that I wrote, definitely not my cup of tea. But if you give it a little bit of time and your nose get used to that ashy note, and it starts to opening up. And when it becomes a little bit more friendly on the nose, a little bit more of that, the maturation. I forgot to tell you about the maturation, but ex-bourbon, and I finish it off majority apparently in seasoned sherry cask, American oak and European oak. So there's going to be a little bit of a bitter note also on this one, and I've seen that in the 10-year-old Highland Park as well, that little bit of a bitter note that comes out. So already it's 15 years old now. It's very strange for me. There's zero mellow notes after that 15 years stuck in a barrel. There's a punchiness, there's a sharpness, there's that ethanol, there's that nail polish remover note. If you agitate and you stick your nose in, that's the first thing that hits you is that acetone. And I was surprised to get that in 15-year-old whiskey. But it does mellow quite fast, and you are left with a hint of a sweetness. So definitely not a sweet whiskey. Well, not a sweet whiskey on the nose. I would not have guessed sherry cask. There is a little bit of a fruity note, a little bit of an apple note, and the longer that you keep it in the glass, that fruity notes go for me into a little bit of a vanilla. And every time that I go back after 10-15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, it feels like that vanilla just keeps on getting higher and higher, flipping that little switch that you just flip, and it just releases that vanilla notes. So then it becomes a little bit pleasant on the nose. No complexity. It's quite one-dimensional for me, quite a little bit disappointed, other than the vanilla notes, and I do like a good vanilla note. There's a little bit of an apple note, there's a little bit of a toffee note, a creamy toffee note that comes out. But you really have to go look for it. You really have to wake it up, shake it up, get past that initial ethanol smell, and when you get that little subtleness at the back. So on the taste, cheers. Now on the taste, it's like the yin and the yang. It's totally the opposite. There's no peatiness, there's no smokiness, there's no ashiness, there's sweetness coming out, that toffee note is there, the creamy note, there's a little bit of an oily mouthfeel to it. But be aware, there is quite a lot of oak in this one, a little dusty oaky note. So the bigger the sip, the more of that oak you will get into the mouth, the more bitter it will become. And if you're not into a big oaky bitter whiskey, then I think this one is not going to be for you. Unless you keep it very small sips, and then it is lovely. That sweetness, that little toffee note, that little raisin, well, not really a raisin, but dried fruity note, hint of that. And when it quickly move into a little bit of a tannin coming through, just to balance that sweetness. Definitely way more sweeter on the taste than on the nose. Let me just try again. Cheers. Yep, definitely I get that caramel note, I get that toffee note, I get a creamy note, a little bit of an espresso note, it's a little bit of a bitter note coming through, smaller sip. I'm just going to try a little bigger sip just to do a quick comparison. Cheers. Now with a bigger sip, that's spicy. That 44% drinks for me like 48%. It just covers that mouth, that sweetness, and when you are hit with the alcohol, a burning sensation, a sharpness to it, a little sour note coming out. It really feels like it's killing the taste buds for me. Just that brief 2-3 seconds, and then things turn to normal with just a warm glow, a sweetness, and in the end you have that little bit of that tannin note coming through. So all in all, this is quite an interesting whiskey. I think it's not for everybody. I don't think it's for people that just starting the whiskey journey. There's quite a lot of rough edges, sharp edges for me. Maybe a drop of 2 of water will help. I'm not sure if I want to add water. I do get a little bit of a dry peach now on the nose as well. So definitely something that needs to relax in a glass, hang out a little bit, and then you try it. And there's definitely more on the nose after a bit of time. Definitely a lot of cask influence on this one. That spiciness of the cask, that tannins of the cask. So all of those things were nicely extracted. And I think they stopped it just at the perfect time. If I waited 3 months longer, I think it would, for me, it would have not been a fantastic whiskey. So definitely something that I would recommend that you try. If you are not new to the whiskey, if you are willing to try something that's a little bit different, not always that sweet sherry monster type of whiskies, this is one definitely that I would recommend. Give it a try. Now, we are standing at 489 reviews. I think the next review is going to be 500 reviews that I've done since I started this whiskey journey, and quite excited to think, what whiskey am I going to try for number 500? Make a suggestion in a comment. What whiskey would be the perfect celebration for 500 reviews in about 2.5 years. So I'm definitely cranking out the videos. So thank you very much for watching. Remember the Patreon account. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember the PayPal account if you want to help children in South Africa. And I see you next time. Cheers.